They are just devoting a certain portion of their reserves to switching largely from the dollar to gold every month, every quarter, every year. They are not completely price insensitive, though. They, after a big surge, they do back off a bit. We're also seeing, or not seeing rather, a lot of surreptitious buying by the People's Bank of China, which is reporting still some sales of significant but much smaller levels. But it is widely assumed that those purchases are far higher than what they're reporting. So my view is, I think we've broken into clear, as it were, into a new rally, a new run for silver. $40 is the next target, but really there's not much technically or really fundamentally between it and the old nominal high of $50.
Gold has outpaced both the MSCI World Index and the Bloomberg Aggregate Bond Index in 2025, supported by strong demand and a weaker dollar. While the long-standing negative correlation with the dollar remains, buying now also reflects a drive to restore trust in tangible value. Central banks, which are diversifying their investments globally, account for nearly 1/4 of annual gold inflows, the highest level since the late 1960s. Gold ETFs saw $30 billion in inflows, approximately 322 tons, in the first half of 2025, reversing the $15 billion outflows in 2024. Retail demand in India and China is surging as households seek dollar alternatives, a trend that could push spot prices beyond $3,400 if it spreads globally. Moreover, silver has entered a fresh rally, with $40 as the next target, anchoring this forecast to tightening physical supply and rising demand. Brien Lundin, a precious metals expert and longtime editor of the Gold newsletter, points out that silver surged past $37 per ounce after a bullish triangle breakout, echoing a similar 12% run in June. Analysts now eye targets of $40 to $60 amid strong technicals and tight supply. Silver prices have surged this week, trading near $36.90 per ounce, driven by a textbook breakout from a multi-week symmetrical triangle chart pattern, echoing a similar technical move in early June that preceded a 12% rally. Technical analysts highlight that silver resumed an upward trajectory after consolidating within a tight triangle since early July, with Bollinger Bands tightening and MACD hovering near neutral, signaling a buildup for a volatile move. Similarly, FX Empire noted silver had consolidated after breaking above $35, reinforcing the breakout thesis. In 2025, the trend of de-dollarization is gaining momentum. New reports highlight how Southeast Asian and BRICS economies are formalizing local currency trade settlement schemes and encouraging companies to hedge less in dollars, responding to both currency volatility and geopolitical risks. At the same time, central banks bought upwards of 244 metric tons of gold globally in the first quarter of 2025. Well above the 5-year quarterly average, even as private investors poured money back into gold-backed ETFs after 2 sluggish years. As the dollar's share of global reserves slips below 47% and gold's share climbs toward 20%, dollar dominance may soon become a thing of the past, with gold once again replacing it as the world's preferred reserve currency. We're about to explore the video, but first, subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date with our latest uploads. Your feedback in the comments is always appreciated.
I think we've broken into clear, as it were, into a new rally, a new run for silver. $40 is the next target, but really there's not much technically or really fundamentally between it and the old nominal high of $50. Many years, and we always focus on the geopolitical end of it and then work our way down to economics, macroeconomics. We have a big focus on, and then into the individual markets. And of course, we have a strong and ongoing legacy in metals and miners. But for years, really since great financial crisis, the focus has been on what is Fed policy going to be? What are they thinking about? Trying to read the tea leaves on the FOMC and what they were going to do next. And over the last year or so, it's been tariffs. It's been, what is Trump thinking? What is he going to do? And it's really been a bit unnerving for the markets because there's no predictability of that. It's been really uh, um, different policies from day to day, tariffs announced, tariffs withdrawn, et cetera, et cetera. But that's been the key factor. I think that's all going to settle out over the next few months. And I think by the time of the conference, it's going to be back to Fed policy. We've kind of gotten that over the last really few days as we're talking, reassert itself as Powell came out in his press conference following the last meeting and really threw cold water on the idea of a September rate cut. Since then, we've had that awful, atrocious jobs number, and gold soared in response. It fell when Powell talked. It soared in response because now it seems obvious that there will have to be a September rate cut. The conversation is going to shift now to how many more rate cuts, one or two between now and the end of the year, probably only one. But again, I think that's what people are going to be talking about is the rate cuts, the repercussions of the tariffs and how that affects Fed policy. But the big issue that we've been focusing on in recent years has been debt, primarily federal debt, and how that really makes it uh, necessary for interest rates to be below the rate of inflation, to have negative real rates
Yep.
going forward because the debt is so large. That's incredibly bullish for precious metals and really all tangible assets. It's a problem. The BLS director is a problem as well because it taints the following numbers with the political bias. Um, I think that the system is just broken. It's obvious the survey responses have fallen in recent years, especially post-COVID. So they need to revamp the system. They need to get some of those geniuses from Doge over there to completely rework that system because some of the data still comes in by facsimile. So it's obvious that this has been a problem for a while, but Congress has been reluctant to act, and it's just typical government bureaucracy and inaction. Um, yeah, you really can't trust the numbers. We do have ADP, but it's been for many years that those have been divergent, at least when they're released. And then we see the BLS numbers revised come in line with ADP. So I think we're going to have a much greater reliance on ADP going forward.
Central banks now hold over 36,000 tons of gold, with Q2 2025 purchases 41% above historical norms according to the World Gold Council. Gold's appeal as a reserve asset stems from policy insulation, liquidity, and non-sovereign counterparty risk. De-dollarization accelerates among BRICS plus economies, emerging markets, and energy-exporting nations amid sanctions and trade fragmentation. China's central bank has been purchasing physical gold to augment its reserves for at least the past 3 years, and there's growing speculation that the country may be acquiring even more of the metal in secret as part of a strategy to reduce its reliance on the US dollar. The ramp-up in gold purchases by the People's Bank of China, PBOC, began back in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine, Jan Nieuwenhuis, gold analyst at Money Metals, told MarketWatch. Gold has long been viewed as a portfolio diversifier and inflation hedge, so investors may look to add or increase their allocation to the precious metal. Historical backtests indicate that a 5% to 10% allocation can reduce overall portfolio drawdowns during market crises without materially affecting returns, sometimes even improving them. Investors can purchase physical bullion or coins, which offer zero counterparty risk but incur storage and insurance costs. Let's recall the interview now.
I actually double-checked that because I do remember it kind of anecdotally. It's my recollection, my impression. So I ran it through AI, and over the last 25 years, the actual bottom in gold is typically around mid-June. But in gold bull markets, which we most assuredly are in, that actually does move back to mid-July to mid-August for a bottom. So we are right at that point. It's playing out according to plan. The volatility in gold has dropped considerably over the past couple of weeks, few weeks actually, and to the point that in previous instances over the course of this, 18-month long or so bull market, every time that this has happened before, that volatility has dropped to these levels, it's come right before a new rally. So it's a unique bull market. It's the kind of bull market we've never seen before, but it is starting to show some consistent patterns that are characteristic of it and it alone. And using those patterns, yeah, it looks like we're due for a new rally because this market has come about without the participation largely, or at least not the previous levels, of Western investors,
Yep.
of mining stocks, of silver, because it's been catalyzed, it's been driven so far largely by central bank buying. And we've never seen that before. Over the decades before, if anything, we've been seeing central banks selling, but that all changed in 2013 to a large degree, where it shifted to on net central bank buying. And then after the sanctions on Russia following the invasion of Ukraine, it accelerated to a level never seen before, where we're seeing 1,000, 1,100 or more tons of gold a year being bought by central banks. And that's propelled the gold price to record highs. And, the Western investors, the typical participants at early stages of other bull markets have been just standing on the sidelines aghast, thinking, oh, wow, it's already going up. How can I participate? We're seeing signs now that they're figuring, well, the way to participate is through gold stocks, which have not moved commensurate with the move in gold, and silver, which also has not done its part so far, but is showing signs just in recent weeks of finally getting going. The investor is going to step in, and in fact, they have started. The legendary generalist investor that we've been waiting to get into the sector has started to get in, and their entree points into the sector are the GDX, GDXJ indices, Newmont, which is the only gold miner in the S&P 500, and a few other stocks. Now, those have had big moves, the big miners, but still they're valued toward the lower end of their historic ranges on a valuation standpoint, relating to their profits, their earnings, and the gold price. So there's still some room for them to move. But already we're starting to see those investors move down the food chain into the juniors, and probably more accurately to say that those of us who are intimately involved in the juniors are now getting excited, now getting involved in the sector. The financings are flowing very easily. It seems like investors that you and I talk to every day in this sector are now finally comfortable with the fact that the gold price is over $3,000 and likely to stay. We're not about to get sideswiped by one of those big market sell-offs that's going to take it right back down. So we're at levels where mining companies can make tremendous profits, where junior miners can have projects that are economic. The average grade, the economics have fallen so far down that it's easy, or the hurdle has fallen so far down, it's easy for a project to be
Yep.
economic. So yeah, it is, I think, a perfect storm right now for, in particular, the junior mining sector.
China's gradual and covert gold hoarding is part of a larger geopolitical strategy aimed at protecting itself from financial sanctions and reducing its reliance on the U.S. dollar. Beijing is establishing gold as a pillar of monetary security by increasing reserves, both explicitly and possibly surreptitiously. In light of growing geopolitical tensions, central banks around the world are moving toward physical assets, which is consistent with this trend. China's actual gold holdings may be significantly greater than official estimates indicate if rumors of covert purchases prove to be genuine. This would have a significant impact on the global demand for and price of gold. What long-term effects would China's covert gold acquisitions have on world gold prices? What advantages or disadvantages would China experience from lessening its reliance on the US dollar? We welcome your insights in the comments section below. If you found this content valuable, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to stay informed. Thank you for joining us on this journey.